Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29. This time for Super Sons, Fortress of Attitude. This time I'll be doing a comic review of Robin issue 2. But I'm sure you're wondering, why do I have the variant cover of Robin issue 1 up? Well, I'll be showing a couple of the other covers before I do jump into the review for Robin issue 2. But it also gives me a little bit of time to share what Joshua Williamson has shown us presently in regards to the Damian Wayne Robin run. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely enjoy these covers. And I don't mind the art either. I think they're both fantastic. And I even enjoyed the backstory. Now, this is where I actually want to bring up the backstory, which came into eventually issue 1. So, I'm now going to change these covers again, or change this cover to the other variant, as well as the regular that came out for issue 1. As you can see up there, we've got the main trade dress for Robin issue 1 on the left hand side, and one of my favourite variants that actually came out, but it was not available in Australia. I had to get this through the US. I managed to obtain 2 copies of this. I enjoyed it more so than the flatline variant, which was black and white. Absolutely incredible. And now up to the present comic covers for the latest issue of Robin. Both are fantastic. Now, if it's something I'd like to address, it's how Joshua Williamson has sort of worked with the character of Damian Wayne. Starting off with the first and second backstory in Batman and Detective Comics, to which we had Damian make his appearance. He was heading back to basically to where his mother was. Of course, they had their little talk, their little rant. I actually gave the review a pretty decent score. And one of the things that I sort of enjoyed about what Joshua Williamson did with the character is it felt like Damian gained some maturity. Especially of like what he had learnt under his father, and still remembering his lessons under his mother. And this is where I need to address that once we move into the first issue, it felt like all of that was undone. It did. It felt like the maturity that Damian had, because when Damian left Bruce Wayne, his old man, Batman, even under the Tomasi run, he left on good terms. And with the sense that he wanted to grow into his own shadow. And no longer to grow under Batman's shadow. Even though, yes, he still wanted to know where Damian was, like after the events, and that's all good and understandable. It's nice seeing that side of Bruce, but it would be nice to see a little bit more of it, even in the present comics that are covering Batman and also the rest of the Bat family, and maybe even a little bit more in the Superman family related, as to, even though we already know that John knows what's sort of happening with Damian, what what are the rest of the family doing? There was a small appearance sort of shown in the Nightwing. So what I'm basically pointing out is that there should at least be some form of deeper concern for the members of the Bat family in regards to Damian Wayne and what he's doing. Yes, like, still allow the character to grow, even though we've already seen in the upcoming solicitations that, yes, Damian will get a bit of a reunion with some of the Bat family members in issue 5 of this, which will be very interesting. But as long as DC and the writers at DC remember to carry that over in the upcoming stories, starting to address that. One of the reasons that you can, as you sort of know, I didn't enjoy the death of what happened in the first issue. And the reason I disliked it is the way that how Joshua Williamson destroyed the work that he had done in the previous, in the prelude to the Robin run. That he had given Damian some maturity to his character, and now you have him die on the island? No, that felt stupid for me. And it felt like it didn't work. You could have had Damian sit back and watch someone else die. I would have had no problem with that, because it would have shown a little bit more consistency with what you were doing with the character. And I know I haven't reached the end of it yet. And I still got to move into the actual review for issue 2. So, I hope you understand what I'm bringing up here before I move into the review. Because if it's one thing Damian's character needs, it's more consistency. Especially with the writers. And even with the writers working head to head with each other to help the character gain more three-dimensionality or even four-dimensionality. Like, there's so much you could do with Damian's character. Yes, he's been brought under, or he's grown up under the Al Ghul, to which, in technicality, if he really wanted to, he could play 3, if not 12-dimensional chess with some of his fucking villains that he goes up against. And even outsmart a number of people. Like, you could infuse that, like, of some of the things that he has learned through the Al Ghuls, but you could also infuse some of the things that he's also gotten and gained from the Bat family. Well, time to move into the review of issue 2. Now, looking at this cover, does this cover in any way, shape or form indicate something that happens within the story? For the first cover, in some parts, which I gave it a 7.5, I reckon the variant cover gives it about a 9 out of 10. And this is just close to the 9, almost 10 minutes through the video. So, time to jump into the internal art. So this is some of the art around the beginning of the story, and I think this art is actually fantastic. It's a pity that the art is going to end up changing over to Jorge Corona, because I enjoy what Malnikov is doing with the art, and I enjoy the art that's being done here, and I feel that we'll probably start to lose the quality of what we will see in the present art. And I don't want to see that happen, because I like what's being done here. I think he's well suited to doing the art for Damian Wayne, I'll now move to the middle of the story. And this is some of the art around the middle of the story. Absolutely gorgeous, including what's being done here with the manga that Damian's reading, as he's on his own path to find his own journey in this. And of course, towards the end of the story. Now, if it's one thing that I sort of enjoyed in the prelude, is how Damian was also captivated by the markings that were on the members of the League of Lazarus. Now, I'll show a little bit of art which is connected to that before I move into the art rating. And we see it in this panel right here on this page. I think this is really good because it shows that, okay, Damian's made a bit of a acquaintance out of the very person who took his heart out of him. And he's observing the very thing that he saw at the beginning of the story. Now, this is where it would not hurt if the story also had a comic reference. And this is what this is also missing too. It needs the comic reference, to be honest. Alright? Just to show the connection between the prelude issue, which would have been both the first part and second part in Batman and also Detective Comics. Because if it's one thing that did sort of indicate some form of maturity with Damian, it's how he was actually captivated by these markings, and how he had also seen these markings on the same tattoos connected to the League of Lazarus. I love that in the story. I enjoyed that in the story. In fact, I enjoyed that in this story too, because he made that connection. And I'm also wondering too, are these tattoos, or do these tattoos have some form of mystical meaning? Like, are they connected to maybe a sorcerer's enchantment, to which it will also affect how the Lazarus pit on the island, on Lazarus Island, works? It really has me thinking, and I really like the idea of that. To which I've given the art 8.5 out of 10. I absolutely enjoyed the art. Now, time to move for the story rating. Of course, we already know the location. It's on Lazarus Island. Throughout the story, we end up going to an area known as the heart of the island, which is shown to him via flat line. It's when Damian's sneaking out and doing a Bruce Lee, as to learning more about the island and some of the operations on the island. I really enjoyed that. And it was good to see him actually going to investigate, because that actually felt like it drove back to what was originally shown, not only in some part issue 1, but also in the prelude to Robin. We got no indication of time, though it wouldn't hurt to bring up time as like time when certain events occur. Say, even if you pointed it out as midday, like if an event happens at midday, yeah, point it out as midday. Is it in the past? Is it in the present? Where are you meant to be taking the reader here? References, even though there were none shown, it wouldn't have hurt to actually used one in the area that I did point out. I think it would have been great, especially for even the new reader that might be interested in picking up this series. so that Damien, or so you can understand Damien's fascination over these particular tattoos, like for the first time. I think it would have been good to have that. But did that in overall affect the rating I gave it? Not in a big way. But we did end up getting a real nice cast of characters. Of course, the key being Damien. We had Ravager, Flatline, Respawn, XXL, Black Swan, who I actually like the idea of. And I think the character of Black Swan would actually be a nice counterpart to Cassandra Cain. Why? Because Cassandra Cain is actually someone who enjoys ballet, or in other words, dance, and it has captivated her character in some of the comics that I have read. And I really like that, and I think even if Cassandra Cain went up against Black Swan, it would be a very interesting, almost rival dynamic. And of course we had Connor Hawk, to which I've given this overall story a rating of 8 out of 10. So thanks heaps to listening to this review, and I'll see you again at the Super Sons Fortress of Attitude, to which the next thing that will probably be covered in the Fortress of Attitude is the revisit of the next comic issue of Challenge of the Super Sons that's coming out in the physical. So stay tuned for that. Until then, please don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you enjoyed the content, and have an awesome day.